Take a moment right now and simply reflect. Perhaps you're looking at your own reflection in a screen, or maybe you're just envisioning yourself. Who do you see? When you peer into those familiar eyes, what do you truly perceive? Is it a consistent, unwavering you that has been there since childhood, evolving but fundamentally the same? The person who remembers yesterday, plans for tomorrow, and feels a deep sense of continuity in their own being. Most of us implicitly believe in such a stable, enduring entity, a core self, a personal identity that persists through every change, every experience, every thought. It feels undeniably real, doesn't it? This internal compass, this central hub of consciousness, guiding our decisions, housing our memories, defining who we are. It's the bedrock upon which we build our lives, our relationships, our very understanding of existence. But what if that deeply ingrained feeling, that intuitive certainty, was fundamentally mistaken? What if this seemingly solid foundation was, in fact, built on shifting sands? David Hume, the brilliant and audacious Scottish philosopher of the 18th century, would look at that very reflection, at that very deeply held conviction, and gently, yet profoundly, tell you not exactly. He would challenge you to look deeper, to question that bedrock itself. Now, brace yourself for a truly radical notion. What if I were to tell you that the permanent, unchanging self, that continuous, consistent you believe yourself to be, the I that anchors all your experiences, is in reality nothing more than a powerful, compelling illusion? Not an illusion in the sense of a trick or a deception, but an illusion born from the very architecture of our minds, a construction, a narrative we weave for ourselves out of a constant stream of fragmented, fleeting perceptions. Imagine your mind not as a single, coherent entity, but as a vast, bustling theater where countless individual perceptions, thoughts, emotions, sensations, memories, desires rush onto the stage, perform their brief act, and then vanish, only to be replaced by others. A dizzying, ceaseless flow, where in this chaotic, ever-changing drama is the singular, unchanging actor called you. Hume proposed that what we mistake for a stable self is merely this bundle of perpetually changing perceptions, a succession of mental events that feel connected but lack an underlying, unifying substance. It's a profound, almost unsettling idea, one that dismantles our most cherished assumptions about who we are. If the self is not a fixed thing, what does that mean for free will, for responsibility, for our very sense of identity over time? It's a question that reverberates through the very core of our being. This startling idea comes from a man named David Hume, a true intellectual giant born in Edinburgh in 1711. He was an 18th century Enlightenment philosopher who didn't just question some things, he dared to question everything we take for granted about the human mind, about knowledge, about morality, and yes, most intimately, about our own identity. At a time when philosophers were rigorously seeking absolute truths and foundational certainties, Hume arrived like a philosophical earthquake, systematically dismantling one pillar of conventional wisdom after another, using an uncompromising empiricism, a belief that all knowledge comes from sensory experience, to scrutinize the most fundamental concepts. He wasn't content with inherited dogmas or speculative metaphysics. He wanted to observe the mind as a scientist would observe the natural world, to see what was actually there, rather than what we wished or assumed to be there. And what he found, particularly concerning the self, was revolutionary and deeply unsettling for his contemporaries, and frankly, it remains just as challenging and thought-provoking for us today. Hume didn't just offer new answers, he posed entirely new kinds of questions, pushing the boundaries of philosophical inquiry and laying the groundwork for much of modern psychology and neuroscience, centuries before those fields even formally existed. So, if you've ever found yourself wondering about the true nature of your consciousness, about why you feel certain emotions, how your memories shape your present, or what truly constitutes your personal identity across the years, then you're in precisely the right place. We're about to embark on a fascinating, perhaps even disorienting, journey into the depths of David Hume's most profound insights, particularly those found within his monumental work, A Treatise of Human Nature. This isn't just an academic exercise in abstract philosophy. This is an invitation to understand your mind, your emotions, and your identity in a completely new, incredibly nuanced, and surprisingly practical way. By grappling with Hume's arguments, you'll gain a unique perspective on the fluidity of thought, the origins of our beliefs, and the very mechanisms by which we construct our sense of self. It's a journey that will challenge your assumptions, expand your self-awareness, and equip you with a powerful framework for navigating the complexities of your inner world. Prepare to have your understanding of who you are and what it means to be human fundamentally transformed. Get ready to look in that mirror again, but this time with the eyes of David Hume. Welcome to an exploration that might just change the way you see yourself, your beliefs, and the very fabric of human interaction. When you hear the word philosophy, do you picture dusty tomes, abstract arguments, or perhaps ancient figures pontificating about things utterly removed from your daily hustle? I wouldn't blame you if you do. For a long time, that was precisely my impression. Philosophy often felt like an academic exercise, detached and frankly, a bit irrelevant to the vibrant, chaotic reality of everyday life. But then I stumbled upon an extraordinary mind from the 18th century who shattered those preconceptions for me, revealing a profound and practical wisdom hidden beneath the academic veneer. His name was David Hume, and the book we're about to delve into, his monumental work, is titled A Treatise of Human Nature. Now, treatise sounds formidable, and in many ways, it is a truly ambitious intellectual feat. But its goal is what makes it so breathtakingly radical and, perhaps surprisingly, so timelessly relevant. Hume set out to do nothing less than create a complete science of man, a foundational understanding of human nature, built not on religious dogma or abstract, armchair reasoning alone, but on meticulous, rigorous observation and concrete experience. He wanted to uncover the fundamental principles governing human thought, emotion, and morality, much like Sir Isaac Newton had, just decades before, revealed the universal laws governing the physical universe. This wasn't about airy-fairy metaphysics. It was about the gritty, messy, and fascinating reality of what it truly means to be human, observed with an almost scientific precision. Imagine someone trying to reverse engineer the human mind itself. That was Hume's audacious project. For me, personally, discovering Hume was nothing short of a revelation. I confess, before encountering him, I often dismissed philosophy as abstract nonsense with no real-world application. It felt like an intellectual cul-de-sac. But Hume's incisive observations about the power of emotion over reason, the profound influence of habit in shaping our deepest beliefs, and the surprising origins of our moral sentiments completely transformed my perspective. His writings weren't just intellectual exercises, they were a blueprint for understanding my own often irrational impulses, my ingrained biases, and the subtle ways I navigate the world. For the first time, the complex interplay of my inner life, the things that made me tick, suddenly felt comprehensible. It was like he'd handed me the operating manual for my own brain, providing a lens through which I could genuinely see myself and the people around me with new clarity, greater understanding, and much more empathy. He made me realize that understanding ourselves wasn't just a philosophical pursuit, but a practical necessity for living a good life. So, what's our core mission here in this modern interpretation of Hume's towering work? It's simple, yet profound, to translate Hume's deep, often challenging, but ultimately liberating insights into actionable, practical wisdom for navigating our incredibly complex, fast-paced 21st century lives. We're going to pull this old Scottish philosopher out of the dusty archives and show you why he's not just relevant, but absolutely essential for fostering modern skepticism in an age of misinformation, cultivating genuine empathy in a polarized world, and deepening your self-awareness amidst constant distraction and external noise. This isn't a dry academic lecture, it's a practical guide, a toolkit for better understanding yourself and the world around you. Over the course of this video, we'll embark on a fascinating journey through the core arguments of the treatise, meticulously breaking them down into digestible, relatable concepts. We'll start by exploring Hume's radical approach to knowledge and skepticism, questioning the very foundations of what we claim to know and the limits of our understanding, a crucial skill in today's information overload. Then, we'll dive headfirst into the fascinating battleground of reason versus passion, uncovering why our emotions and instincts so often hold sway over our logical faculties, and what profound implications that has for our personal decision-making and biases. We'll then examine the invisible chains of habit and belief, revealing how our minds form connections and expectations that powerfully shape our reality, often without us even realizing the subtle mechanisms at play. From there, we'll turn to the profound origins of morality and empathy, discovering why we care about others and how our social instincts are far more fundamental to our ethical lives than abstract rules. Finally, we'll grapple with one of philosophy's most elusive concepts, the very nature of the self. Hume's insights here are truly mind-bending, challenging our deeply ingrained notion of a stable, enduring identity, and offering a perspective that's surprisingly relevant to modern psychology. Each of these themes offers not just intellectual stimulation, but practical tools. Tools to critically question assumptions you've always held dear, to better understand your own emotional landscape and those of others, to recognize the powerful habits that govern your life, to build stronger, more empathetic connections, and ultimately, to gain a more nuanced, realistic, and empowering understanding of who you are and what it truly means to be human. So settle in, open your mind, and prepare to meet David Hume, not as a distant historical figure, but as a surprisingly contemporary guide to the human condition, ready to illuminate your modern life. Welcome to a journey into the mind, guided by one of history's most radical thinkers, David Hume. Today, we're diving into the very first chapter of his groundbreaking work, a treatise of human nature, a section we've titled The Mind's Movie Theater, Impressions vs. Ideas. Get ready, because Hume is about to challenge everything you thought you knew about how your mind works, starting with a foundational concept that underpins his entire philosophy, that every single thought, every belief, Every flicker of consciousness you experience is ultimately derived from experience. Imagine your mind as a grand, bustling movie theater. Right now, as you listen, you're sitting in the audience, watching a film unfold. But it's not just any film, it's the live, vibrant, immediate stream of your present reality. This is what Hume calls an impression. Impressions are those direct, forceful, and lively perceptions that hit you with full sensory impact. They are the vivid reds you see, the sharp tang of a lemon on your tongue, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the pain of a stubbed toe, the soaring notes of your favorite song. They are the here and now of your existence, playing out in glorious high definition, full surround sound, and even olfactory detail. These are our direct sensations, our emotions as we feel them, our desires as they grip us. They are immediate and undeniable, demanding your full attention. Now fast forward a bit. The movie ends, or perhaps you just step out of the theater for a moment. What do you have left? You have the memory of the film. You might remember the plot, recall a specific character's face, hum a tune from the soundtrack, or think about how a particular scene made you feel. These are your ideas. Ideas for Hume are simply the faded, less lively copies of our impressions. They are the echoes, the reflections, the thoughts we have about our direct experiences. Think of them like the movie poster you see later, a faded photograph, or a review you read online. They capture the essence of the original, but they lack the vividness, the force, the immediacy of the live screening. When you recall the taste of a lemon, the impression of its sourness is far less intense than when you actually taste one. When you think about the pain of that stubbed toe, it's a mere shadow compared to the original agony. This brings us to Hume's famous copy principle. He argues that every simple idea in your mind is nothing more than an exact copy of a preceding simple impression. You cannot, for instance, form a clear idea of a color you have never seen or a taste you have never experienced. If you've never seen blue, you cannot conjure the idea of blue in your mind. You might combine existing colors in new ways, but the fundamental building blocks must come from direct experience. This principle is profound because it suggests our imagination isn't limitless in its fundamental elements. It's constrained by the raw material of our sensory world. If you encounter someone who seems to lack an idea, Hume would suggest it's because they've never had the corresponding impression. But our minds aren't just passive recorders. While we can't create entirely new, simple ideas from scratch, we are incredibly adept at taking these simple ideas and creatively combining them into complex ones. This is where our imagination truly shines. We can take the idea of gold and the idea of a mountain and combine them to form the complex idea of a golden mountain. We can conceive of a virtuous computer by joining the abstract idea of virtue, derived from observing moral actions, with the idea of a computer. These complex ideas may not have a direct, single impression in reality, but their components, every single one of them, are ultimately traceable back to simpler impressions. Connecting this to our lives today, Hume's insight is incredibly powerful. Our entire worldview, our biases, our understanding of others, our very sense of self is built entirely from our personal library of impressions. Your experience of the world shapes your ideas about it. If you've lived a life predominantly in one culture, with certain types of interactions, your ideas about human nature, justice, and happiness will be deeply informed by those specific impressions. This also offers a powerful key to understanding and changing minds. If someone holds a strong belief or idea that seems immutable, simply offering more ideas, more arguments, more logic, more words might not be enough. Hume suggests that to truly change deep-seated ideas or to foster a new understanding, what might be needed is a new impression, a direct, vivid experience. To truly understand poverty, one might need an impression of it, not just statistics. To genuinely change one's mind about a culture, an individual might need direct, personal interaction, not just news reports. Our minds are not just logical processors, they are impression-fueled engines of thought. So as we close this first chapter, remember every thought you've ever had, every dream, every memory, every intricate concept is a mosaic constructed from the direct, vibrant movies of your experience. Your mind's theater is constantly screening, and the impressions it collects are the irreplaceable raw material of your consciousness. Hume's journey into human nature begins here with the radical notion that to understand what we think, we must first understand how we experience. This understanding of causation as a product of our internal mental habits and belief, rather than something we directly perceive or logically derive, has profound implications for our everyday lives. Think about your morning routine. You switch on the electric kettle and you believe the water will boil. Why? Not because you can rationally deduce its mechanics, but because every single time you've switched on a kettle, the water has boiled. It's constant conjunction leading to an almost automatic, undeniable expectation. Consider, too, how we make predictions. Financial analysts make predictions about stock prices based on historical trends and correlations. They believe certain patterns will repeat, leading to specific outcomes. This belief, this powerful feeling of certainty, is born from observing countless past conjunctions of events, not from seeing an inherent, necessary causal link magically appear in the future. Our entire sense of certainty, from simple actions to complex scientific theories, is often built upon the assumption that past patterns will continue, an assumption powered by habit and feeling, not logical proof. Hume isn't arguing that there's no regular order in the universe. His point is far more subtle, yet far more radical, about our knowledge of it. We impose the idea of causation, this necessary connection, onto the world because our minds are wired to seek patterns and form habits. The necessity we feel between cause and effect is not an objective property out there in the world itself. It is a projection of our own psychological machinery, an inevitable and deeply ingrained habit of thought. It is the brain's autopilot, efficiently navigating a world of constant conjunctions, but ultimately creating an illusion of necessary connection where none is directly perceived by our senses. This revelation means our most fundamental understanding of how the world works is profoundly shaped by our own inner mental landscape. This understanding of causation as a product of our internal mental habits and belief, rather than something we directly perceive or logically derive, has profound implications for our everyday lives. Think about your morning routine. You switch on the electric kettle and you believe the water will boil. Why? Not because you can rationally deduce its mechanics, but because every single time you've switched on a kettle, the water has boiled. It's constant conjunction leading to an almost automatic, undeniable expectation. Consider, too, how we make predictions. Financial analysts make predictions about stock prices based on historical trends and correlations. They believe certain patterns will repeat, leading to specific outcomes. This belief, this powerful feeling of certainty, is born from observing countless past conjunctions of events, not from seeing an inherent, necessary causal link magically appear in the future. Our entire sense of certainty, from simple actions to complex scientific theories, is often built upon the assumption that past patterns will continue, an assumption powered by habit and feeling, not logical proof. Hume isn't arguing that there's no regular order in the universe. His point is far more subtle, yet far more radical, about our knowledge of it. We impose the idea of causation, this necessary connection, onto the world because our minds are wired to seek patterns and form habits. The necessity we feel between cause and effect is not an objective property out there in the world itself. It is a projection of our own psychological machinery, an inevitable and deeply ingrained habit of thought. It is the brain's autopilot, efficiently navigating a world of constant conjunctions, but ultimately creating an illusion of necessary connection where none is directly perceived by our senses. This revelation means our most fundamental understanding of how the world works is profoundly shaped by our own inner mental landscape. Welcome back to our exploration of David Hume's groundbreaking A Treatise of Human Nature. In our previous chapters, we delved into how our perceptions are formed, the limitations of our understanding, and the problem of induction. Now, we arrive at perhaps Hume's most famous and certainly most provocative assertion, the true relationship between reason and emotion. Prepare to have your conventional notions challenged as we explore Chapter 3. Reason is a slave, why feelings really run the show. For centuries, philosophers had placed reason on a pedestal, viewing it as the guiding light of human action, the master controlling our unruly desires. But Hume, ever the empiricist, looked at human behavior and saw something fundamentally different. He famously declared, "Reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them." This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a radical reorientation of our understanding of human motivation. What does it truly mean for reason to be a slave? It means that reason, by itself, cannot generate action. It has no inherent power to move us. Reason's job, according to Hume, is purely instrumental. It helps us figure out the best means to achieve an end that our passions, our desires, our emotions, our feelings have already set. Reason doesn't tell us what to want, it only tells us how to get what we already want. Let's ground this in a modern context. Imagine you wake up one morning and decide, "I need to get healthy." What is the initial spark for this decision? Is it a logical deduction that a healthy body leads to a longer lifespan, which then leads to more opportunities for happiness? While reason might confirm those points, the motivation itself springs from a deeper emotional well. It's a desire for well-being, a feeling of discomfort with your current state, a craving for vitality, or perhaps a fear of future illness. These are passions. Once that underlying desire, that passion for health is ignited, then reason steps in. Reason becomes the diligent servant. It researches diet plans, calculates calorie deficits, investigates exercise routines, compares gym memberships, and schedules workouts. Reason helps you understand the causal links between actions and outcomes. It might tell you that eating vegetables is good for you and processed sugar is not. But reason alone won't make you choose the salad over the donut if there isn't an underlying passion for health driving that choice. Without the initial emotional impetus, reason remains inert, like a powerful engine without any fuel. Hume's controversial assertion about reason and passion doesn't stop at personal decisions. It extends profoundly into his understanding of morality. If reason is merely instrumental, how do we determine what is right or wrong? Traditionally, morality was often seen as a product of rational principles, universal laws discoverable through pure thought. But Hume argued that morality, too, is fundamentally rooted in sentiment, in our feelings. When we call an action good or bad, virtuous or vicious, we aren't describing some objective, inherent quality of the action itself, discoverable by reason. Instead, we are expressing our own feelings of approval or disapproval that the action inspires in us. Consider witnessing an act of cruelty. Our immediate reaction isn't a complex chain of logical deductions about its consequences or its violation of a rational principle. It's an instinctive surge of revulsion, disgust, or sympathy for the victim. Similarly, an act of kindness often eliciting a feeling of warmth, admiration, or approval. Hume suggested that morality is more akin to taste or aesthetic judgment. We don't say a painting is beautiful because a logical argument proves its beauty. We say it's beautiful because it evokes a feeling of pleasure or admiration in us. In the same vein, an action is moral because it elicits a feeling of approval in the impartial spectator, in our shared human nature. Reason can inform us of the facts surrounding a moral situation. Who did what? What were the consequences? But the final moral judgment, the ought or ought not, arises from our sentiments. We feel something is wrong, and then we may try to rationalize that feeling. This understanding of reason as a slave to the passions has significant practical implications, particularly when it comes to influencing ourselves and others. If you want to persuade someone, or indeed change your own behavior, merely presenting a barrage of facts and logical arguments often falls flat. Why? Because you're appealing to the servant, not the master. To truly affect change, you must appeal to the underlying values, desires, and emotions that already exist or can be awakened. If you're trying to convince someone about climate change, simply reciting temperature graphs and CO2 levels might not be enough. You need to connect it to their sense of responsibility, their love for future generations, their fear for their children's world, or their desire for a sustainable community. You need to tap into their passions. Similarly, if you're struggling to stick to a new habit, like exercising more, relying solely on the logical benefits often isn't enough to overcome inertia. You need to cultivate the desire for the outcome. Connect it to how you want to feel: more energetic, more confident, less stressed. Find the emotional hook and then let reason draw the map to get there. Hume's insight reminds us that humans are not purely rational, calculating machines. We are creatures of desire, feeling, and sentiment, and our reason works tirelessly in the service of these deeper, often unspoken motivations. Understanding this dynamic is a powerful tool, whether you're trying to understand yourself, influence others, or navigate the complex tapestry of human interaction. Welcome back to our exploration of David Hume's groundbreaking A Treatise of Human Nature. If you thought his challenges to causality and induction were unsettling, prepare yourself for what is arguably his most radical and personally confronting idea, the myth of the enduring self. Hume posits that there is no single, continuous self or soul that persists unchanged through time. Instead, what we intuitively call me is merely a rapidly flowing bundle of thoughts, feelings, and sensations. This concept can feel profoundly counterintuitive, even alarming. We inherently feel a sense of I that is distinct, that wakes up each morning as the same person who went to sleep the night before, that carries memories and intentions. But Hume invites us to perform a fascinating introspective experiment, one that challenges this deeply ingrained intuition. Take a moment with me now. You might find it helpful to close your eyes or simply let your gaze soften. Now, turn your attention inward. What do you find? You might notice a thought arising, perhaps about what you need to do later today, or a memory from yesterday. You might feel an emotion, a flicker of anxiety, a wave of calm, a slight irritation. You might become aware of a physical sensation, the pressure of the chair beneath you, the hum of the air conditioning, a slight itch. Observe these perceptions as they come and go. Now try to find you. Try to locate the self that is separate from any particular thought, any particular feeling, any particular sensation. Can you find the thinker without the thought? Can you find the feeler without the emotion? When you search for this core, unchanging self, this persistent I that supposedly underlies all your experiences, what do you encounter? Hume's startling conclusion, after much such introspection, was that he could never catch himself without a perception. Whenever he looked inward, he stumbled upon a particular thought, a particular feeling, a particular sensation, but never the self as a distinct, unchanging entity underlying them all. He famously wrote, "When I enter most intimately into what I call myself, I always stumble on some particular perception or other. I never can catch myself at any time without a perception, and never can observe anything but the perception." This leads us directly to what is known as Hume's bundle theory of the self. Imagine a nation. We speak of the United States or France as single entities. But what are they really? They are collections of people, territories, laws, cultures, economies, all constantly changing, evolving, being born, dying, reforming. Yet we give them a single name and refer to them as if they are static, coherent wholes. The same goes for a sports team. The Lakers exist from season to season, but the players, coaches, and even the arena might change entirely. Yet, it's still the Lakers. Hume argues that our self is precisely like this. It is not an unchanging core substance, a static soul, but rather a rapid succession of different perceptions, a bundle. Our identity is simply the coherent, though constantly shifting, flow of these perceptions. There is no stage upon which these perceptions perform. The perceptions are the stage, and the actors, and the play itself. Consider the analogy of a river. We speak of the River Thames or the Mississippi River. We give it a singular name and refer to it as if it's the same unchanging entity from one day to the next, from one century to the next. But is it? The water that flowed past you yesterday is now miles downstream, replaced by new water. The riverbed slowly erodes and shifts, its banks change, its ecosystem evolves. Yet it is still the same river to us. The identity of the river is not in any single drop of water, but in the continuous, flowing process, the relation between its ever-changing parts. Our self is much the same. It is a process, a verb, not a static noun. The continuity we perceive isn't due to an unchanging essence, but to the constant succession and strong resemblance of our perceptions, linked by memory and imagination. We remember past thoughts and feelings, we anticipate future ones, and this creates the illusion of a persistent me. This perspective, though radical for Hume's time, resonates strongly with modern concepts like mindfulness and non-attachment. Mindfulness practices often guide us to observe our thoughts and feelings as transient phenomena, like clouds passing in the sky, without identifying with them, without attaching to them as defining aspects of a fixed self. When we practice mindfulness, we don't try to stop the thoughts, but simply to witness them. we notice that the thinker is inseparable from the thought. Hume's bundle theory encourages us to see ourselves not as static objects, but as dynamic, ever-changing processes. It liberates us from the burden of maintaining a fixed, rigid identity. If there is no fixed self, then the idea of who I am becomes fluid, adaptable, and open to continuous transformation. Our identity is constructed moment by moment through the flow of our experiences and our interpretations of them. This understanding can foster a profound sense of freedom and non-attachment, allowing us to engage with life's changes with greater ease and less resistance. It invites us to embrace the impermanence of our internal landscape and to appreciate the intricate, beautiful, and ever-unfolding bundle that we truly are. Welcome to Chapter 5, The Compass of Sympathy: How We Connect with Others. In our exploration of David Hume's monumental treatise of human nature, we now arrive at perhaps one of his most profound and enduring insights, the theory of sympathy. This concept, which we might more readily call empathy today, stands as the natural and fundamental cornerstone for morality and, indeed, for all meaningful social connection. Hume argues that we are not isolated islands of self-interest, but rather beings inherently built to feel with and for each other. So, how exactly does this remarkable mechanism of sympathy operate according to Hume? It's a process both subtle and powerful. When we observe another person expressing an emotion, be it joy, sorrow, anger, or fear, we don't merely register it as an abstract fact. Instead, that observation triggers a vivid idea of that emotion within us. This idea, imbued with a certain vivacity and force, then transforms itself, almost imperceptibly, into the very emotion it represents. It's as if our minds possess an internal mirror, reflecting the passions of others back to us. Think of watching a dear friend burst into laughter. A similar warmth and mirth begin to bubble within you. Or consider witnessing someone wince in pain. An echo of that discomfort can be felt in your own body. This isn't necessarily a conscious decision, it's an immediate, often involuntary resonance. The closer we feel to someone, the more intimately familiar we are with their situation, the more powerfully and directly this sympathetic connection tends to operate, creating a direct conduit for shared feeling. This natural capacity to feel with others forms the indispensable foundation for our moral judgments. For Hume, morality is not primarily derived from abstract reason or divine command, but from our feelings. When we encounter an action, we naturally consider its effects on others. If that action leads to joy, comfort, or well-being in another, our sympathetic mechanism translates those positive feelings into a sense of pleasure within ourselves. Conversely, if an action causes suffering, distress, or harm to another, our sympathy generates a corresponding feeling of unease or pain within us. Actions that evoke pleasurable sympathetic feelings are those we approve of, deeming them virtuous and morally good. Actions that trigger painful sympathetic feelings are those we disapprove of, branding them as vicious or morally wrong. This is why generosity is universally praised and cruelty universally condemned, not because of a logical deduction, but because of the immediate and powerful sympathetic responses they elicit. Our moral compass, then, is guided by this emotional response, refined by our ability to consider actions from a general, impartial point of view, extending our sympathy beyond just our immediate circle. Beyond individual moral judgments, sympathy acts as the essential social glue that binds communities together. Without it, Hume suggests, society as we know it would simply dissolve. It's the underlying force that allows for cooperation, enabling us to work towards common goals because we intuitively understand and share in the aspirations and struggles of others. Sympathy fosters trust as we perceive others as capable of understanding our internal states and having a natural inclination towards our well-being. This shared emotional understanding is what allows us to predict and rely on one another's behavior to a significant degree. Furthermore, through repeated sympathetic responses to similar situations, communities develop shared values. What consistently brings collective pleasure through sympathy becomes a societal good. What consistently brings collective pain becomes a societal ill. These shared feelings become the bedrock of cultural norms, laws, and collective identity, moving us beyond purely self-interested interactions to build complex, stable, and thriving societies. Finally, Hume's insights into sympathy underscore the profound importance of cultivating empathy as a deliberate skill in our own lives. While sympathy might be a natural human capacity, its strength and reach can vary. By actively working to understand others' perspectives, listening deeply, and seeking to truly comprehend their experiences, we can expand our sympathetic circle and deepen our connections. This isn't just about feeling warm fuzzies, it's about building stronger, more resilient relationships, fostering greater understanding across divides, and ultimately contributing to a kinder, more compassionate society. When we consciously nurture our empathetic abilities, we harness one of our most fundamental human endowments, transforming it into a powerful tool for personal growth and collective flourishing. In essence, Hume reminds us that to be truly human is to be interconnected, forever bound by the invisible, yet profoundly real, threads of shared feeling. Welcome to Chapter 6, where we delve into what is perhaps David Hume's most foundational and enduring contribution to philosophy, his vital distinction between relations of ideas and matters of fact. This isn't just an academic exercise, it's a profound tool for understanding the very nature of knowledge itself, and it helps us discern the difference between abstract logic and the messy reality of life. Many refer to this as Hume's fork, a philosophical implement designed to prise apart two fundamentally different kinds of human understanding, guiding us to identify the inherent certainty of some propositions versus the contingent nature of others. Let's start with the first prong, the elegant and precise side of the fork: relations of ideas. These are truths that are knowable a priori, meaning they are true independently of any experience of the world. Think of pure mathematics, the laws of logic, or geometry. Statements like 2 plus 2 equals 4, or all bachelors are unmarried men fall into this category. Consider geometry. All triangles have 3 sides. You don't need to go out and measure every triangle in existence to verify this. The truth is contained within the very definition of a triangle. These truths are certain, necessary, and demonstratively true, often described as tautologies because their predicates are implicitly contained within their subjects. Crucially, their opposite is not only false, but impossible to conceive without outright contradiction. Try to imagine a square circle or a triangle with only 2 sides. The concepts simply collapse in on themselves. Our knowledge of relations of ideas is arrived at through intuition or logical demonstration, purely through the operations of thought, making them infallible within their own conceptual frameworks. Now, let's turn to the second, more empirical prong of Hume's fork: matters of fact. Unlike relations of ideas, these truths are knowable a posteriori, meaning they derive entirely from our experience of the world and observations. Take, for example, the sun will rise tomorrow, or fire is hot, or water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. These are statements about how the world actually behaves, and our conviction in their truth stems from repeated observation and the consistent patterns we've experienced in the past. But here's the crucial difference: the opposite of any matter of fact is always perfectly conceivable without logical contradiction. While we expect the sun to rise tomorrow, we can perfectly well imagine a scenario where it doesn't. Perhaps a cosmic event intervenes without any logical absurdity. It might be wildly improbable, even false in reality, but it's not logically impossible. There's no inherent contradiction in thinking of a cold fire or water freezing at room temperature, even if our vast empirical experience tells us otherwise. Our knowledge of matters of fact, Hume argues, is based on cause and effect relationships, which themselves are derived from experience and habit, not from pure deductive reason. And this brings us to Hume's core and truly revolutionary point, a revelation that shook the foundations of rationalist philosophy. You cannot use pure logic or abstract reasoning alone to prove anything about the real world, about the domain of matters of fact. All knowledge concerning existence, all understanding of how the universe empirically operates, must ultimately come from experience. No amount of abstract thought or clever deduction can tell you if a particular medicine will cure a disease, or if a specific economic policy will work in practice, or if a new particle exists. For that, you need observation, experimentation, and evidence gathered from the world itself. Logic can brilliantly illuminate the consistency of your arguments, but it cannot, by itself, tell you if your initial premises about reality are true. It highlights the fundamental limits of pure reason when confronting the empirical realm. Why is this distinction so vital, especially in our modern era? In our information-saturated world, where claims and counterclaims, alternative facts, and persuasive narratives fly at us from every direction, Hume's fork fosters intellectual humility and reinforces the paramount importance of evidence. It reminds us that while logic is an indispensable tool for structuring our thoughts and uncovering contradictions, it is not a substitute for empirical investigation and verifiable data. When someone presents an argument about how the world is, Hume compels us to ask, is this a relation of ideas, a self-evident, definitional truth within its own system, or is it a matter of fact requiring solid empirical support? If it's the latter, then pure armchair speculation or appeals to abstract rationality simply won't suffice. We need concrete data, careful observations, and verifiable experiences. This distinction empowers us to critically evaluate information, to question assumptions that too often masquerade as undeniable truths, and to demand compelling evidence from the real world before accepting claims about it. It's a powerful call to be grounded in reality, to acknowledge the inherent limits of pure reason when navigating the complexities of our existence, and to respect the invaluable lessons learned from our direct, often messy, interaction with reality. Now that we've journeyed through the intricate landscape of Hume's profound philosophy, it's time to bring these powerful ideas down to earth and directly into your personal experience. Theory is undeniably fascinating, but true, enduring understanding often blossoms most fully from consistent, thoughtful practice. Welcome to your 7-day action plan, the Hume Challenge. This isn't about simply memorizing philosophical concepts or quoting passages. It's about actively experiencing them firsthand, transforming what might otherwise seem like abstract, academic notions into tangible, daily insights that reshape your perception. Think of this week as an intensive philosophical workout for your mind, specifically designed to help you apply Hume's extraordinary genius to your own lived reality, moment by moment, one day at a time. Throughout this challenge, you'll become a dedicated empiricist in action, keenly observing your own mind, your reactions, and the world around you with a new, Humean precision. Days 1 and 2, notice impressions. For the first 2 days, your mission is to actively distinguish, with almost scientific rigor, between direct sensory experiences, what Hume called impressions, and your ideas about them. An impression is the vivid, immediate feeling or sensation that hits you right now, unfiltered and raw, the actual taste of coffee washing over your tongue, the precise warmth, the specific bitter or sweet notes, the rich aroma filling your nostrils as you take a sip. An idea, in contrast, is your mental copy or interpretation, often a less vibrant echo of that original impression. For instance, "This is a good coffee," or "I don't like this coffee at all," or even just "coffee." Challenge yourself to truly feel and absorb the raw, immediate sensory data before your mind swiftly slaps a label or judgment on it. When you gaze at a tree, notice the precise, nuanced greens of the leaves, the intricate texture of the bark, the way dappled sunlight plays across its branches, the gentle sway in the breeze, before your mind automatically categorizes it as a beautiful oak or just another tree in the park. Similarly, when you hear music, fully immerse yourself in the pure vibrations, the intricate rhythm, the pitch variations, the timbre of the instruments, before you allow your brain to judge it as catchy, boring, or my favorite song. This focused practice will profoundly sharpen your perception, helping you to experience the world more directly, more viscerally, unburdened by immediate judgment or ingrained preconception. It's about recognizing the fundamental, vibrant, and ever-present building blocks of your mental world. Days 3 and 4, spot the habit. On days 3 and 4, we delve deeply into Hume's profound skepticism concerning cause and effect and the role of custom. Your challenge is to identify a routine belief, an ingrained expectation, or a predictable sequence of events that you encounter frequently in your daily life. It could be anything from the unwavering expectation that the sun will rise again tomorrow morning, to your car unfailingly starting with a turn of the key, or a friend's completely predictable reaction to a particular type of joke you tell. Once you've consciously identified this recurring pattern, pause and ask yourself, with genuine curiosity and a Humean lens, am I absolutely certain this outcome will occur because of some irrefutable, logical necessity that I can directly perceive and fully understand? Or is my certainty merely rooted in the fact that it has always happened this way before, purely based on past experience? Is there a truly necessary, observable connection you can discern between these two events? Or are you simply expecting it to happen again out of sheer custom or habit, a powerful product of your past experiences and observations? Notice how surprisingly strong the feeling of certainty is, how deeply ingrained this expectation can be, even when the logical foundation might be purely based on repeated observation rather than absolute deductive proof. This exercise isn't about denying the reliability of the world or becoming paralyzed by doubt. It's about recognizing the incredibly powerful and often unseen role that custom and habit play in shaping our fundamental understanding of reality and the expectations we build about the future. It helps reveal the often unquestioned foundations of our most deeply held beliefs about how the world works. Day 5, follow the feeling. Day 5 brings Hume's famous, and for many, still provocative declaration into sharp focus. Reason is and ought only to be the slave of the passions and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. Today, your task is to meticulously observe your own choices and actions throughout the entire day. Whenever you make a decision, whether it's grand and life-altering, like choosing a career path, or as simple as choosing what to eat for lunch, consciously identify the core passion, the underlying desire, or the fundamental feeling that is truly driving it. Are you selecting that particular meal because you're experiencing genuine hunger, or is it because you crave comfort food? Or perhaps you're subtly attempting to impress someone you're dining with, or even just avoiding waste? Are you pursuing a specific career goal or personal ambition primarily because of a deep-seated desire for recognition, a yearning for financial security, or simply the sheer joy and satisfaction it intrinsically brings you? Acknowledge, without judgment, that reason's essential role is primarily as the how to guide it, diligently helps you figure out the most effective and efficient way to achieve what your passions and desires already dictate. For instance, if your passion is to live a healthy life, reason will meticulously help you choose the right foods, plan an effective exercise regimen, and research wellness practices. But the initial impulse, the motivational spark itself, invariably originates from a feeling, a sentiment, a passion, not from a cold, calculated logical conclusion. This practice will profoundly help you understand the true wellsprings of your actions and motivations, revealing the often hidden emotional architecture beneath what you perceive as your rational choices. Days 6 and 7 practice sympathy and observe the self. For the final 2 days of our Hume challenge, we have a dual, deeply introspective task that touches upon 2 interconnected pillars of his thought, crucial for understanding both our social and individual selves. First, practice sympathy. Your goal is to intentionally try to feel what a friend, a family member, or even a colleague is genuinely feeling. This goes far beyond mere intellectual understanding of their words. It's about actively attempting to experience a direct, resonant echo of their emotional state within yourself. When they share their joy, their sorrow, their frustration, or their excitement, listen intently. Try to vividly imagine yourself in their exact circumstances and observe if their emotion sparks a similar, albeit perhaps fainter, vibration or response within your own being. This direct, empathetic engagement connects powerfully to Hume's groundbreaking idea of sympathy, not just as simple compassion, but as a fundamental psychological mechanism for sharing and understanding others' emotions, which he saw as the very bedrock of our moral sentiments, our sense of justice, and indeed all social cohesion. Second, observe the self. In a quiet moment, perhaps during a dedicated meditation session, or just as you're winding down before sleep, gently turn your attention inward. Just watch your thoughts, your fleeting feelings, and your bodily sensations as they pass by. Notice them without judgment, without clinging to any one particular thought, and crucially, without identifying with them as you. As Hume famously suggested, if you look inward, you might find that there isn't a fixed, enduring, unchanging self or I at the core of your being, but rather a continual bundle or collection of different perceptions, which succeed each other with inconceivable rapidity and are in a perpetual flux and movement. Experience this dynamic flow of consciousness, the transient, ever-changing nature of your mental states, and perhaps begin to truly understand that the self might be more of a narrative we continuously construct, a dynamic process, rather than a solid, unchanging entity residing somewhere within the mind. This Hume challenge is designed not to transform you into a carbon copy of David Hume, but rather to equip you with his uniquely incisive and powerfully practical philosophical tools for understanding human nature, your own mind, and the complex world around you. Continue these practices beyond just this initial week, and you'll undoubtedly discover a profound and lasting shift in how you perceive reality, how you understand your own deep motivations, and how you genuinely connect with others on a deeper, more empathetic level. Embrace the spirit of skepticism, appreciate the profound role of passions, and observe your own mind and your daily experiences with these new, sharpened Humean eyes. The journey of philosophical self-discovery is truly ongoing. We've journeyed deep into David Hume's groundbreaking A Treatise of Human Nature. It's a dense philosophical landscape, to be sure, but its core insights are incredibly powerful and surprisingly relevant even today. To help you carry these ideas beyond this video, let's distill Hume's profound philosophy into 3 memorable takeaways, 3 fundamental truths about human nature that, once understood, can profoundly change how you see yourself and the world around you. First, and perhaps most foundational, is this experience is your teacher. Hume argued emphatically that every single idea in your head, from the most basic sensation of a vibrant red to the most abstract and complex concept of justice, freedom, or morality, originates from a real-world, sensory experience or a reflection upon those experiences. Our minds, he proposed, aren't born with preloaded, innate knowledge. They are, in essence, a tabula rasa, a blank slate, constantly being written upon by the myriad impressions we gather through our 5 senses and our internal feelings. Think about it practically. You can't genuinely imagine a new color you've never seen, or truly understand the distinct taste of a fruit you've never eaten. Every thought, every idea, is ultimately a fainter copy of a more vivid, immediate impression. What does this profound empirical insight mean for you? It means that to truly expand your mind, to genuinely broaden your understanding and generate new ideas, you must actively expand your experiences. Seek out new sensations, new interactions, new challenges, and new perspectives. Don't just passively read about the world, immerse yourself, engage with it directly. For Hume, true knowledge isn't found solely in dusty books or detached abstract contemplation. It's vividly forged in the messy, vibrant crucible of lived experience. Your personal history of perceptions, your unique sensory journey, is the fundamental bedrock of your entire understanding of reality. Our second key takeaway pivots to what truly drives us. Feeling is your engine. This is where Hume famously issued his radical declaration: reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. This was a truly revolutionary and often deeply misunderstood statement in a philosophical tradition that had long elevated reason as our supreme faculty. Hume wasn't saying reason is useless or unimportant, far from it. He was asserting that our ultimate goals, our fundamental desires, our deep-seated motivations, what we genuinely want in life, stem not from cold logic, but from our emotions, our passions, our sentiments. Reason then becomes the indispensable tool, the highly effective steering wheel we use to figure out the how. It helps us strategically choose the most effective, efficient path to achieve those emotionally driven desires. If you deeply want happiness, reason helps you strategize for it. If you feel profound compassion, reason guides your practical actions to help others. Without the powerful engine of passion providing direction and impetus, reason would essentially have no purpose, no destination. It's like having a perfectly engineered, high-performance car representing reason, but with absolutely no fuel representing passion to make it move. Understanding this profound relationship between reason and passion helps us appreciate that our moral judgments, our aesthetic preferences, and indeed, most of our life choices are deeply rooted in our subjective feelings and emotional responses, not just objective calculation. To truly grasp yourself, you must first acknowledge and explore the powerful, often subconscious, currents of your emotional landscape. Finally, we arrive at perhaps Hume's most unsettling yet ultimately liberating insight, one that fundamentally challenges our very common sense notion of self. You are a river, not a rock. We instinctively feel like we possess a fixed, enduring self, a stable, unchanging essence, a core identity that persists through every moment of our lives, from childhood to old age. But Hume, through rigorous introspection and relentless skepticism, found no such thing. He described the self not as an immutable, solid substance, but rather as nothing but a bundle or collection of different perceptions, which succeed each other with an inconceivable rapidity and are in a perpetual flux and movement. Think of a river. It's a continuous, identifiable entity, a single flowing body of water, yet the individual water molecules flowing through it are constantly changing, constantly being replaced. Your self is profoundly similar, a dynamic, ever-changing stream of experiences, memories, thoughts, feelings, and sensations. The you of 5 minutes ago isn't entirely the you of this very moment, and certainly not the you of 10 years from now, with all the accumulated life experiences and wisdom. This isn't a call to despair or existential angst, quite the opposite. It's an invitation to embrace the continuous, unfolding process of becoming. It frees us from the rigid, often burdensome expectation of maintaining a static, unchanging identity. Instead of striving to be a fixed, unyielding rock, you are a continuous flow, a vibrant narrative that is constantly being written, revised, and rewritten with every new perception and every new experience. Embrace change, cultivate adaptability, and celebrate the beautiful, complex, and ever-evolving nature of who you are. Your identity isn't a fixed destination, it's the magnificent, vibrant journey itself, a ceaseless and fascinating unfolding. These three profound points: that experience is your ultimate teacher, that your feelings are the powerful engine driving your life's direction, and that your self is a dynamic, flowing river rather than a static, immutable rock, together form the challenging yet illuminating essence of Hume's radical empiricism and skepticism. They encourage us to look at our minds, our deepest motivations, and our very identities with fresh eyes, fostering a deeper, more engaged relationship with the world and a profoundly nuanced understanding of our own complex human nature. Hume's treatise might have initially been met with silence and misunderstanding in its own time, but its echoes reverberate with immense power through modern philosophy, psychology, cognitive science, and indeed, profoundly shape how we understand ourselves and the human condition today. Thank you for joining me on this comprehensive exploration of one of history's most brilliant, provocative, and enduring philosophical minds. All right, we've navigated the intricate, often unsettling, yet undeniably profound landscape of David Hume's A Treatise of Human Nature. His radical empiricism and relentless interrogation of human understanding presented us with perspectives challenging our deepest intuitions about causality, the external world, and even our own identity. We've wrestled with the notion that all knowledge stems from impressions, that causation is merely observed constant conjunction, not necessary connection, and that our very self might be a bundle of fleeting perceptions. These are not trivial academic points. They are foundational challenges to our everyday experiences and cherished beliefs. Now, as we conclude this particular journey, I invite you to actively engage with these powerful ideas. If this exploration of Hume has offered you a fresh lens, sparked doubt in ingrained assumptions, or ignited new curiosity about how our minds operate, then please like this video. Your likes signal resonance, helping us understand which philosophical explorations truly captivate and inform you, thereby shaping our future content. And if you're eager to continue this intellectual adventure, to delve deeper into philosophy's rich tapestry, and discover how ancient wisdom illuminates modern life, then I wholeheartedly encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Here, our mission is to make philosophy not only accessible, but genuinely practical, transforming complex concepts into tools for more reflective, critical, and insightful living. Join our growing community of fellow inquirers dedicated to exploring the big questions. But the true spirit of philosophy thrives in dialogue, in the exchange of diverse perspectives. Hume, perhaps more than any other philosopher, compels us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our world. So, let's foster that dialogue right here. In the comments section below, I want to hear your thoughts. Which of Hume's groundbreaking ideas do you find most challenging or, paradoxically, most liberating? Is it his revolutionary conception of the self, the unsettling proposal that our personal identity isn't a stable, enduring entity, but rather a transient bundle or collection of different perceptions, which succeed each other with an inconceivable rapidity and are in a perpetual flux and movement? This idea directly confronts our intuitive sense of continuity and a fixed inner core. How does it make you feel to consider yourself as an ever-changing stream of experiences? Does it erode something fundamental, or does it offer profound freedom from the burden of a static, prescribed identity? Or perhaps you're more profoundly struck by his radical assertion that reason is and ought only to be the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. This statement upends centuries of philosophical tradition that elevated pure rationality. Hume suggests that our desires, emotions, and passions are the ultimate drivers, with reason serving merely as a sophisticated instrument to achieve their ends. Consider your own decision-making. How often does your intellect cleverly rationalize a choice already made by an emotional impulse? Is this a bleak dismissal of our rational capabilities, or a candid, perhaps even empowering, recognition of our true psychological makeup? Does it free us from the often impossible demand to be perfectly rational beings, or does it expose a vulnerability we'd rather ignore? Your unique perspective on these profound challenges is invaluable. Share your struggles, insights, and moments of clarity in the comments. Let's build a vibrant space for respectful, illuminating discourse. And if you found this discussion stimulating, if it sparked new lines of inquiry within your own mind, then please don't keep these intellectual sparks contained. Share this video with someone you know who genuinely enjoys grappling with big, foundational questions, someone unafraid to have their worldview gently but firmly nudged, or who simply appreciates exploring the deeper currents of human thought. Perhaps a friend who's inherently curious, a colleague valuing intellectual rigor, or a family member interested in philosophy's enduring relevance. Sharing expands our community of inquiry, introduces more minds to philosophical exploration, and empowers individuals to think critically about their knowledge and beliefs. Finally, for those whose curiosity has been truly ignited, who feel ready to dive deeper into Hume's original words or to explore the broader intellectual context of his groundbreaking work, we've curated resources for you. In the description below, you'll find direct links. Firstly, we've included a link to an accessible version of a treatise of human nature. While Hume's original text is dense and demanding, modern annotated editions or well-crafted abridgments offer a more navigable entry point into his profound arguments, allowing you to engage directly with his compelling prose and appreciate its subtle nuances. Engaging directly with primary texts remains an unparalleled way to deepen understanding. Secondly, we'll provide links to other videos and reputable resources exploring the fascinating world of empiricism, the philosophical movement Hume so powerfully advanced. These supplementary materials contextualize Hume's ideas, compare them with predecessors like Locke and Berkeley, and trace how his theories continue to influence contemporary philosophy, cognitive science, and even cutting-edge fields like artificial intelligence. This journey into Hume is a significant step, but just one part of a much larger, ongoing intellectual adventure. Thank you immensely for joining me on this profound exploration of David Hume's A Treatise of Human Nature. Your thoughtful engagement and active participation truly breathe life into philosophy. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep thinking critically about the fundamental nature of your own experience and the world around you. Until next time, may your intellectual quests be filled with an open mind and an insatiable, curious spirit.